Hello, this is TF2 and Mike, and welcome to the Mayhem. This is M.A.S.K Mayhem, episode 6, and with me as always is my Rhino co-pilot, Optimus Solo. Hello.
It's good to be in the Rhino this week.
Yes. Neither one of us has to be a estrogen-filled girl.
You can be next week, though.
No. Not even close. Not even close. In this episode of M.A.S.K Mayhem, we'll be giving you our thoughts on episode 12, Solaria Park, Episode 13, The Creeping Terror, and Episode 14, Assault on Liberty. So buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Incredible! Must be the biggest solar collector in history. And there's its heat ray. It can use that mirror to direct the main mirror's energy in any direction. And those solar energy collectors will store energy so the statue will be invincible, even at night. Let's move it. If I'm right, no weapon on Earth will be able to get near that thing once it's fully charged up.
So first up today is Solaria Park. Take it away with the plot.
Alrighty, once again, we are starting internationally. We are not in the U.S. to begin this episode. We are exploring the Aegean Sea and Greece and Europe over there with Scott, T-Bob, Matt, and Bruce. They seem to be on some type of vacation, but it doesn't seem to be like a vacation at first. Everyone's seeming to not like the amount of work that's going into this sailing trip, so Matt decides to give them a day to be lazy. So Matt takes off and Bruce stays behind to watch Scott and T-Bob, and the ship starts on fire. This results in them swimming to shore, and Matt kind of seeing what's happening and swimming out to try to help them. And Matt and Bruce decide to investigate what is causing the fire, since the fire started at the top of the mast and basically worked its way down to the ship. They find some other burned items. They also see an amusement park that is owned by some crazy millionaire, quote unquote. And as they're looking at the amusement park, Miles Mayhem shows up in Switchblade and starts attacking them. But eventually Switchblade crashes into some trees, and both teams decide to call for backup. So M.A.S.K is assembled, and Venom comes to back Miles up. And the M.A.S.K team basically is going to assemble and investigate, and it leads to a showdown with M.A.S.K and Venom, like always. But there's a couple disappearing acts. Miles Mayhem disappears into the mountain, and Sly also disappears into a mountain, seemingly. So M.A.S.K is left kind of perplexed, and they decide to investigate Solaria Park, which happens to be full of mirrors and basically a front, since nothing is what it should be. And as they're there, Venom transforms the park, into this giant thing of mirrors with a statue of Zeus, basically. I think it's Zeus.
It's a lightning dish or like a solar dish.
They make it into a solar dish of mirrors with a Greek statue, which I assume is supposed to be Zeus holding a lightning bolt in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be able to, wield unworldly powers and whatnot. But M.A.S.K destroys the statue by running the Thunderhawk into it. We'll get to that later. Which basically saves the day. We always have our themes, M.A.S.K assembles, there's M.A.S.K and Venom showdowns, and at the end, M.A.S.K saves the day. So that is the plot for Solaria Park. Comment, sir.
When I first saw the dish, the only thing I could think of was, and I know M.A.S.K obviously happened before the revival of James Bond in the 90s, but the first thing I thought of was GoldenEye, when the water drenches out and the whole park in GoldenEye is a satellite dish for the GoldenEye satellite in the James Bond movie. That was the first thing I thought of when I saw that dish in this episode.
Yeah.
Um, the plot, was there a plot in all of this?
Yes.
Was there really?
Venom is creating this solar dish, and they're going to use it to shoot lasers out of Zeus's lightning bolt, and apparently that is going to help them take over the world.
So essentially, Zeus is Miles Mayhem's space needle, like Megatron, essentially.
Yes. Nice.
Because in
Two Transformers references for this.
Megatron, well, in Transformers, Megatron had the solar needle, and he was harnessing the power of the sun. And
I just don't see the point here. If you look at the bigger picture in this plot, okay, M.A.S.K and Venom are based in the U.S., we assume, even though it seems like they're not at times. But anyways, they're from the U.S. So the big plan here for Venom is we are going to go to Greece. We are going to create this solar-powered energy thing that can shoot lasers out of Zeus's lightning bolt. And that is going to help you do what?
Yeah.
Like control Greece? Like these lasers can't shoot more than, such a distance. I mean, I understand they're powerful lasers, but what is the point here? How does this help you in your ultimate goals of either taking over the U.S. or taking over the world? Like this is a bad guy plan from the beginning.
Yeah.
This is one of the worst schemes I've ever seen a bad guy come up with.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna go to another country so we can control a mile radius with lightning bolts. I don't get it. Because whoever wrote this episode had to come up with the premise from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you're writing animation, most of it can be done by a robot monkey. As far as the stuff that happens every episode.
Right.
So you don't really have to come up with that. So somebody sat down and came up with this plan that said, let's take Venom to Greece where they're going to control like a little radius with these lightning bolts and stuff. Like, what? I don't get it. Yeah. That's my thoughts on the plot. There's a plot. I just don't understand how it plays into the bigger scheme of M.A.S.K and Venom.
Lamest plot so far.
Well, as far as the episodes actually somewhat had a plot. I did notice that it was the first time that I remember. It probably wasn't the first time it happened, but one of the first times they really focused on the fact that M.A.S.K was using a remote call, or Matt was using a remote call to call the M.A.S.K computer and ask the computer to assemble the team.
Yeah.
He basically called in via his little communicator and was like, "Computer, assemble the team."
He's got a briefcase like Penny does.
Yes, he does. As far as members we had involved in this one, we have the 4 Venom members. The only 4 basically we've seen: Miles, Sly, Cliff, and Vanessa. And we have 5 M.A.S.K members: Bruce Sato, Brad, Hondo, Dusty, Gloria. 6 if you count Matt. So 6 against 4. Right. And obviously Bruce was already there, so yeah. I don't know.
But the funny thing was, they showed his.
They didn't. They show him in the vehicle next to Matt, and he gives a thumbs up.
No. I could have sworn that they showed his.
They show a picture of him giving a thumbs up, like, "Yep, I'm already here." Like,
yeah, I know, but I don't know.
They usually just skip over. This is the first time they actually acknowledged the fact that they were calling for somebody that was already there.
Yeah.
He gave it a good thumbs up. It was a great picture.
Every muscle in my body hurts.
Mine too.
You're a machine. You can't be tired.
Can I be overloaded, low on power, worn out, and in desperate need of an overhaul?
Yes.
Then that's what I am. I never want to go sailing again. Hoist the mizzenmast, gaff the jibs, mow the yardarms. Next, they'll probably want us to put out the fire.
What fire?
When I'm there.
It's time to turn those high beams on. I'm going to go first on this one. Well, at least they made mention of shipping the vehicles overseas.
This is the first thing I wrote down when I was watching this. Then after it, I wrote down, are they listening to us? Like, we just brought that up. And then the next episode, they slipped in Matt to say that. I swear, they heard our podcast. and then they went
Right.
back and somehow put it in where they're like, oh, we had it shipped ahead.
Yeah, yeah. You already mentioned the Bruce thing. I made a note about the computer mentions him when he's already there.
Yeah.
Count 5 for the assemble mask quote. Um, I love. This is mainly for the scene in the solar thing mirror world. I love the animation. I love the way that the animation is when the cars are in action and in motion.
Hmm.
I just really love that about how it's animated, how it looks like it's super hi-fi action type of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in some other points, it's like, oh, it's just a car, but hey, we have an action scene, so let's animate it better. So, but those are my high beams. What about you?
Well, besides I had the Thunderhawk shipped ahead. I have 3 high beams in a row revolving around T-Bob.
God, you're doing this to torture me.
No, first of all, they went back to T-Bob being funny in this episode. I love the fact that he's like laying there, and Scott's a bastard of like. Okay, I know like T-Bob's kind of more Scott's like nanny babysitter, but
Mm,
you kind of view them as like friends. Like Scott has no friends, T-Bob's his friend. Like they get into mischief together. So I almost look at them like as friends. And
yeah.
Scott seemingly he feels the need to remind T-Bob at all times that T-Bob's not alive. Like, Scott, you're a bastard. Like, damn it, the robot has feelings. Oh wait, no, he's not alive. But he said something about like he's not alive, and T-Bob's like, well, I can be overloaded and blah 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 blah, and then he's just like laying on the boat, and he looks up and he's like, oh, the boat's on fire. Like, I thought that was funny how he did that. And then once everybody realizes it and everybody's freaking out, he's like, robots and children save first. I thought that was kind of funny. And then at one point he has like the water like squirting out of him after he's been in the river. I thought for once it was cool that they actually showed the water like coming out of him.
Yeah.
And then my other thing was like listening to how much T-Bob, like listening to him go off about how unfun sailing is and
Yeah.
how he doesn't want to be here and he just wants to go home and like he never wants to sail again. It's too much work and all this other stuff. It just got me to write down this little thing on my notes. T-Bob is so you, Mike.
No. No. No,
He
because
is the robot version of.
I don't mind sailing as long as everyone
No,
else
it was just
doing
the
the work.
personality coming out of there and being like,
No.
"Oh, I hate this blah." It's like you going to the movies was T-Bob going sailing.
No.
Anyways, eventually you're gonna realize that T-Bob is the robot version of you.
Nope.
I thought it was funny when Firecracker got grounded. Like all the other ships took off. All the other ships that took off of that cliff or
Yeah.
whatever, and Firecracker's like, guys, I can't fly. I also thought it was really cool what that led to, which was the chase scene where Hondo's being carried by Matt in the Thunderhawk. Well, Bruce specifically, but
Yeah.
so we had another. So see, you can be Bruce and be the co-pilot of Thunderhawk. It's not always Gloria. But anyways,
Gloria was the first time they actively.
well, this time it was
acknowledged
Bruce.
it.
But so you have Bruce in the co-pilot in the riding shotgun in the Thunderhawk, and he's doing his lifter to carry the Firecracker and Hondo through the air, and then you have Switchblade and Miles Mayhem attacking them while I thought that was a cool dynamic. Like you're attacking the Thunderhawk while it's carrying Firecracker.
Yeah.
It was kind of a neat thing because then obviously they use Firecracker to help out and to do the whatever you want to call it, the hypnotic head beams or whatever.
Yeah, the hypnotic eye beams. Yeah.
So that was cool. So I thought that was a very cool chase scene. I thought it was one of the first times where we've actually had a legit cliffhanger going into a commercial break.
Oh yeah.
There's a torpedo headed for Dusty and Gloria, and it goes to commercial break as it's kind of getting near them. I know that's just classic cartoon stuff where you have something like, oh, it looks like it's going to be dangerous, let's go to commercial, and then it turns out not to be dangerous.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen it a lot in M.A.S.K. Usually they just kind of, it doesn't seem like I've seen this type of cliffhanger going into a commercial break. So I thought that was cool. And then staying with the torpedo, I thought Sly Rax kind of showed his smarts and kind of did some smooth move there when he avoided the torpedo by kind of going up the rock a little bit and then kind of turning real quickly to the right.
Yeah.
And then the torpedo hit the rock, and then of course you had Sly and Miles both disappearing in the mountain, which I thought was kind of a cool plot point, to give a little mystery to the episode as far as like where did they go, how did they get there. So even though the plot was bizarre in the ultimate premise, I did think there was quite a few things that high beams and things I liked about the episode.
Let's get out of here. We'll just have to keep our fingers crossed.
All right, let's turn on the low beams here.
Let's not, shall we?
I don't know. Krufsk, Matt's voice when he dove into the water after the boat blew up, when he yelled out their names, he sounded so, the voice from Matt was so off. And he didn't even dive in when he said it. He was like, I don't know, I don't know what he was, taking his clothes off. He was doing something. And he yells their names when he hears the explosion. It's not, I could see if it was like a weird voice modulation thing or weird voice effect, if he was like, had a mouthful of water, but he didn't.
Yeah.
No team assembly, yet the masks are in the cars. That's kind of weird. Because it isn't like...
Well, it had the sequence for...
Well, it had the sequence later, but like when it's just Matt and Bruce...
Oh, yeah.
And they start going after Venom, their masks are already in their cars.
Oh, I didn't notice that. And
then I like how when they do the team assembly, the chamber is half empty. But why is Alex's mask there? He wasn't even in the episode, but it's in the rotator thing. I saw it.
Oh, okay. It also went back to the slow animation sequence, which is terrible. Booted that. I didn't notice Alex's mask. That's interesting.
It was there. It's like a split second and you miss it, but it was there. I did see it. That was, you mentioned how you liked Bruce's use of lifter and everything else, but that was a very extended use of lifter, yet he didn't faint this time.
Yeah, it only drains their power when it's necessary for
747 airplane.
But yeah, that should have drained it a little bit because he was definitely carrying that car for a good while.
Yeah, he was. They blew up the Thunderhawk. No. And then instead of a PSA, they built him a new Thunderhawk.
That was very interesting. That's the first time I've seen it where they bypassed the PSA to do more episode.
Yeah.
And conveniently build a clone of the Thunderhawk. I'll get to that in a second. But
go ahead. That's all I got.
First of all, I'm surprised you didn't bring this up, but in the assembly montage when they're selecting the team, is this the first time we've seen them reuse the exact same sequences?
No.
They reuse.
Oh, wait. You mean the sequences of the situations or the
yeah, like they called Dusty. Yeah. Is Dusty the pizza guy? Or Hondo? Hondo's teacher.
Dusty.
Dusty is a pizza guy. They called him, and it's the exact same sequence that we saw like in the first or second episode where he just drops the pizza on the floor.
No, it was a different sequence. It was a different part. It was different.
I swear there was two of them that were identical.
It's the same type of sequence. You're right. It is the same type where he's in the pizza shop, but it's a different angle.
Okay, because it almost looked like they were reusing I thought it was the first time we saw reused montages there.
Yeah. The computer montages, just so you know, the computer montages are always the same.
I know that. I'm talking about when they showed the people getting called.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know torpedoes worked like they did in this episode.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I was fine with it until it shot out of the whirlpool vortex water thing.
Yeah.
It shot out perfectly fine and then went back in the water and went after Sly.
Yeah, it pulled a Yui.
That was bizarre. Matt, great leader that he is, they scheme up their way to solve all the problems, and then he's just like, all right, let's get out of here and keep our fingers crossed. What? No. Stay and make sure you save the world, please. I don't want my leaders to be like, well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and go back home and hope everything worked out fine. Like, what the fuck? The ultimate low, though, I think for me in this episode. So they put the Thunderhawk on the edge of the dish of mirrors, solar dish.
Yeah.
Then they turn it into ice covering. They freeze it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they let it roll down from the edge to this humongous stone statue. And when it gently rolls into the statue, the whole thing gets destroyed and blows up?
Maybe Matt had a self-destruct button somewhere.
I mean, did they rig Thunderhawk with bombs? Was there a time grenade
They
in
didn't
there?
show that. I was wondering that myself. I didn't write it down, but I was wondering that myself. I'm like, wait a second. What is the plan here? Why are they just having the Thunderhawk essentially teeter on the top of the solar dish?
Right.
And it's like, what the fuck? And then they they freeze it. I'm like, what the hell?
They froze it so it wouldn't get burned up by the heat from the bouncing off the mirrors. I get that part. But it's not even like, first of all, even if the car was going 100 miles an hour, it wouldn't have dented that statue.
Stone statue, yeah.
Second of all,
unless it's made out of paper mache.
And second of all, it wasn't going 100 miles an hour. It was barely going 20.
Yeah.
Like, it was gently just rolling down, like, in neutral down this thing of mirrors, and it, like, bumps the statue, and everything explodes. Like, I'm missing something.
Well, okay. Did the car bump the statue and then the statue knock over?
No, it shouldn't have.
Okay, but did it?
No, they don't show it. They just show it running into it, and then it just shows a big explosion.
Because I'm trying to remember if when Thunderhawk hit the statue.
No, it doesn't knock it over.
Okay, because I was gonna explain it away, because if it knocked it over.
Yeah, I could see it if it knocked it over.
Like, went through the car, I could see.
Yeah, but that's not what happened. It
right.
just gently bumped it, and that was just terrible. That may be the worst ending we've seen all series.
To this point.
And we saw some bad ones early on, but that just made no sense. And then, like you said, in the PSA, the Thunderhawk is rebuilt.
Yeah. Well, see, they start to do a PSA because, all right, it seems like Matt is starting to do a PSA because he's like, "Hey, who's under my car?" Blah blah blah, and then it's they started out like it's going to be a PSA, and then it's this whole thing of me and the M.A.S.K team, Dad, where we were going to build you a new car since your other one blew up in the. We
know you liked it.
Greece. It's like, oh, fuck.
There was some good things about this episode that made me want to like it, but there was just some big old bad things. The low beams were like bright.
The low beams were like, whoa.
Great danger! Great danger! Great danger!
Hello, what is it?
We sailed downriver. We see them. They attack. Chase us. Destroy boat.
Who attacked you?
I would not believe if my eyes did not see. Giant caterpillars.
Giant caterpillars? This I'd like to see.
Me too.
No, Scott. You stay here with T-Bob. Let's go, Alex.
Up next is the Creeping Terror.
So basically we start off again in the land of the unknown, and we're seeing some weird underground creature things that we don't know what they are yet. Then we go to some natives rowing down a river, and we know that we're somewhere in South America, Central America. And the vegetation, trees, grass are gone. The natives discover it, and they're like, whoa, what's going on here? And then these creatures start coming towards them, and they're eating everything. So they take off running to try to warn somebody about these creeping terrors. Meanwhile, we zoom to Scott and T-Bob in the jungle for some reason. Scott and T-Bob are in the jungle. Apparently M.A.S.K must be taking another vacation to the jungle because it worked so well last time we were here when we found dinosaurs. So apparently they explain this away because Matt was checking up on a hospital that his millions of dollars of money helped build, and he brought Alex with him. because they knew that they were going to come across a animal situation. Um, the natives come and warn the village, and they're saying like, hey, there's some giant caterpillars. So apparently we figure out that they were caterpillars. So Matt takes on the task of finding giant caterpillars, creeping terrors. And they discover some eggs, some very large eggs. And Alex uses his expertise, thank God he was on this vacation with Matt, to discover that the eggs are genetically altered. That's why they're so big. And then out of nowhere, we find Cliffdagger hiding in kind of some type of invisible shield behind a wall type thing.
Yeah.
And he decides to blow his cover and start shooting at M.A.S.K. And then basically drives away. So the M.A.S.K team is assembled, and we have our M.A.S.K Venom showdown. And during it, Vanessa's up and taking some pictures, and we're not quite sure what she's taking pictures of. And then Venom kind of leaves abruptly. And then we find that Hondo, Scott, and T-Bob are trapped by the caterpillars in the firecracker. I believe. No, not the firecracker. The other car.
Thunderhawk.
No, not that. They were trapped in the little Jeep thing. But they were trapped by the caterpillars. And they're getting shook all around and whatnot, and they eventually have to throw the coconuts out so that the guys leave them alone. M.A.S.K finds out that there's a pictograph that kind of points to a power source, which is a giant crystal. This is all new coming into the episode here. We got giant crystals now. The giant crystal, like Miles has a piece of it, puts it in there. He's like, oh, this is a great power source, and to turn it on, I put this little crystal into this giant crystal. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to do it. And then it's like the whole place is about to explode. So because they're like, oh, that was a bad idea, it seems like it's going to explode, we're going to get out of here. So they leave, and M.A.S.K is trapped inside with the crystal. Luckily, so are the caterpillars, and the caterpillars eat the crystal. And then the vehicles blast their way free, and everybody lives happily ever after. We had a 4-on-4 mission this time. Matt, Alex, Hondo, and Brad against the 4 Venom members. So what are your thoughts about this plot, sir?
This is... Oh my god. This is just so fucking stupid.
I was wondering for a while. I was confused because we had a similar episode with this is somewhat comparable to the Rotex. I'm not saying it's as good or as bad or whatever. It's not like same quality, but the same type of situation where we're dealing with like some nature, some animal or insect that's kind of going crazy.
Right.
And for a long time I was like, so is Venom going to be showing up and they're going to be controlling the caterpillars? But apparently these caterpillars have nothing to do with Venom.
Not at all.
Like,
no.
Venom's not in control of them. They didn't know about them, really. They're not doing anything. I don't know why Cliffdagger was hiding behind them at one point. But they don't really seem to have too much of it. They hardly even talk about the caterpillars. And so for a while I was confused as to what was going on in this episode. Like how Venom worked into it until all of a sudden they did the whole crystal thing. Which is kind of out of left field and kind of like 2/3 of the way through the episode. So that was kind of a weird thing to like transition. This is why Venom's actually here. You don't like creepy things, do you?
No, I don't. And at first, like,
so many people do.
Shut up. When they first showed the creatures in the very beginning of the episode, and they showed them hatching out of the eggs in the cavern, it was like bright green eyes. I thought it was going to be an Aliens episode. I honestly did.
They were cool in the way they were designed and the look of them for this type of environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought they did look creepy. They did look big. They did look, as a kid, I could imagine seeing those and being creeped out.
Yeah.
And, the big, huge eggs and them eating everything. So, like, they did a good job with them. I just don't know. Like, it seemed not smooth and natural the way Venom is playing a whole part in this episode.
Yeah, not at all.
Friendly chap, wouldn't you say?
You two seem to be getting along quite well.
I should hope so.
Back in the States, I own an exotic pet store. Hey, stop that. My head is not a trash can.
It's time to turn on the high beams, and you're just going to kill me for this, I think.
We're positive, folks. We're positive. Don't blink. You'll miss it.
When I was watching... Shut up. When I was watching the episode, I don't know what it was. Like, I don't care for the episode. It's not my... Like, I don't hate it, but I just don't care for it overall. But as I was watching it, I found myself more intrigued with where the hell the whole plot with the caterpillars was going to go, and then it went nowhere. My only high beam, because it was the only one I wrote down, I guess I got lost in watching the episode. I can actually... This is where your brain's going to break, Kevin.
Oh.
Can actually sympathize with T-Bob. Monkeys are evil. I hate them. Because in the beginning, the monkey was crawling all over T-Bob. He's like, get it off, get it off.
The monkey was crawling over him.
Yeah.
That was when those bunch of like little miniature caterpillars dropped down on him.
No, wasn't it the monkey?
No, it was little caterpillars.
No, it was the monkey, I think.
I know for a fact little caterpillars dropped on and freaked
Right, but I could have sworn it was also the monkey.
I think you're revisionist history or something here.
But that's all I get. That's all I read.
My high beam is the monkey. That's my favorite character in the episode. Alex's monkey was hilarious. He put the banana on Alex's head. He was dropping coconuts on people. I like the monkey. So that was a good thing about this episode. The only other thing I could come up with was, I guess we learned that Spectrum is the most powerful mask because at one point Matt's like, "You idiots, if my mask doesn't work, none of yours are going to." Like, apparently, I don't know if he just has an ego there or if Spectrum is like the end all be all, and if there's no Spectrum, nothing else is going to work, I guess. Because he does say that line. He's like, "You guys can stop trying your stuff. Mine didn't work." I don't know. So we learned something. That's positive. But yeah, the monkey was cool in this episode.
I don't know who you are, but don't come back. I don't think they'll poke their noses around here for a long while.
Now it's time to turn on the low beams. I guess I'll let you go first in this one.
Well, first, let me correct myself because I kept saying Cliff Dagger was the one that was driving.
Slyrax.
It was Slyrax, which is why I didn't like it, because Sly kind of seems like the smartest of the group almost to me.
Yeah.
And he's like hiding behind the caterpillars, and then he starts shooting at Matt and Alex, and then Matt and Alex leave or whatever, and Sly's like, they go to Sly, and he's like, "Well, I don't know who you guys are, but you're gonna pay." What? You shot at them. You know who they are.
Yeah.
You shot at them because it was M.A.S.K. Like, why would you right after that be like, "I don't know who you guys are"? Like, no, Sly, you're the smart one of the group. Have some consistent writing here, people. I know it was caterpillars that dropped down on T-Bob at one point because I've never seen that. I have a note here, low beam. I've never seen that many caterpillars at once. We're not talking about the huge giant, like, creeping terrors here.
Right, we're talking about regular caterpillars.
Regular caterpillars. There was literally like 20 or 30 of them that dropped down on T-Bob.
Yep.
Like, that's never happened in nature, I'm pretty sure. Boo to the lack of scenes when the team is assembled.
Yeah.
They just name... First of all, it's the shortest assembly ever because it's 2 people.
Yeah.
They call off Hondo and they call off Brad, and they do not show what those guys are doing.
Yeah.
It's just they called those 2 and teams assembled. And what I've been waiting for here this whole time, because we've had like 3 or 4 episodes where already one member is with Matt. This, for the first time, the computer does not select Alex.
That's what I was going to say. One of my second low beam is, so wait, does Alex have to go home since he wasn't selected?
He is not supposed to be in this episode, damn it. Every other time they've remembered to at least signal to whoever is already there. They at least say the name. They don't show. They've been good because they don't show a montage scene, or I call it montage. It's a horrible use of that word. That's not the right word, but you know, they show a little scene as to what those people are doing, and at least they have been good at skipping it when the person's there. But they still say the name. Alex, you should not have been in this episode. You are not authorized. So that was a low beam. we had been doing so well for a few episodes here, probably, a handful of episodes, almost, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes where Scott and T-Bob were naturally included in the stories.
Yep.
And then we fell back this episode, and we have them just hitching a ride in the back of one of the vehicles.
Yeah.
In the back of Hondo's vehicle. That was dumb.
That was very dumb, yes.
Not only was that dumb, but out of nowhere, Hondo, Scott, and T-Bob in that vehicle get trapped by the caterpillars. Like, that made no fucking sense. They are ginormous, creeping terrors. You're going to see them coming, and for you to somehow let them do the only possible thing that could trap you, which is all 3 of them cornering you in the middle of the 3 of them. Like, you're in a vehicle, you would have driven away before that happened.
Yeah.
And they don't even show them getting trapped. It's like they show Vanessa and she's talking to Miles, and they're like, oh, they're not going anywhere. And then it like zooms down and they're trapped by these caterpillars. Like, how did that happen? Boo. And then I have in big, bold capital letters, this is not the last one, but big, bold capital letters. I don't know who animated, who drew, who wrote this episode, and where they grew up and what kind of food they ate. But those are not coconuts. Those are the worst representations of coconuts I have ever seen in my life.
First of all, they're white.
They looked like something out of Super Mario World 2.
Yeah. You mean Super Mario Brothers 2?
Super Mario Brothers 2. It looked like one of those, like, whatever those
vegetable
things are. It was not a coconut. Bad. Like, what are you teaching our kids?
Maybe it was an inside-out coconut where the white cream is on the outside and the brown stuff's on the inside.
It was just weird, though. It wasn't even like a coconut shell.
Yeah.
Like, coconuts are round and, like, they are almost like fuzzy, like stringy on the outside.
Round, fuzzy brown things, yeah.
These had, like, I don't know. I can't even explain it. Maybe I should get
They
a
almost
picture
look like turnips.
Yeah, they look like turnips. Why is the inside of Rhino the size of a house? At one point, they're inside a Rhino because obviously they're not in the U.S., so they're not, at M.A.S.K headquarters. And it's inside Rhino. There's literally, like, the whole team is in there on the computer, and they're, like, not just hunched over looking at it, like, they're spread out like they're in a house.
Yeah.
Like, how big is the inside of Rhino?
It can't be that big. I know they're using it. I know they're animating it to use it to exaggerate how many team. But even because I've watched like Ice Road Truckers and stuff like that. No, seriously, I've watched trucking shows where even those truckers that have giant cabs that they allow them that the cab is big enough where it gives them a bed, a desk, and everything else. Even that isn't that damn big.
It was huge. This scene was the worst I've seen it, where it's like freaking huge. I have a big problem with the amount of stupidity that's going on in Venom in this episode.
Yes.
Let's stick this crystal in here, even though we have no way to control it and we don't know how it works or what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. We just know it's powerful. You're idiots. All of you. Like,
yep.
That made no sense. Like, there was no plan. At least with Lightning Bolt Zeus, they're like, we are going to shoot lasers at people. Like, we will build this, and we will have the capability of shooting lasers at people. This one, it was like, oh, an old myth story thing says an inscription says if you put this little crystal in the big crystal, it's like the ultimate power source. We don't know how to harness that or what's going to happen when we do that, so let's try it. Underground in, like, a cave. And then, of course, our tied up with a bow moment for this episode was at the end, the caterpillars go into their cocoon, and the convenient way to, like, put this story to rest was, oh, don't worry, they're going to be asleep for a few centuries because they're so large. What?
So a few centuries from now, when human civilization is gone,
these motherfuckers are going to rule the world.
Giant-ass butterflies are going to rule the world.
Giant butterflies. Mothra, you ain't seen nothing. That was very convenient that they're just like, we'll just throw in a line that they're going to be asleep for centuries and nobody will need to worry about them.
Yep.
Boo. Somebody remake M.A.S.K. and have these motherfucking butterflies in it. What are your low points? Put that in the movie, dang it.
Giant genetically altered caterpillars.
I
Really?
want butterflies in a Mask movie, people. Rewrite the script. Sorry.
8 by 10 in wallet size. Oh, God, bad joke. As hot as Vanessa is, that was a bad fucking joke.
It was, I agree.
We just talked about the plot, but one of my notes was, so Venom's whole plot was to go after a power source that was uncontrollable. There's a difference between going after and harnessing and again, referencing another 80s property, going to Transformers, when Megatron was mining the ruby crystals of Burma. He was going after this power source that could be harnessed into a weapon, not just put crystal here and then everything blows up afterwards.
Put crystal here and then we will play it by ear to see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
A wing and a prayer.
Oh, God. The PSA.
Oh, I forgot about the PSA.
It is a good message about wearing bright clothing at night, especially if you're riding a bike. It is a good message. But T-Bob's joke...
Well, you're on the wrong one, but that's okay.
No, I'm not, am I?
Yeah. The PSA for this one was riding on bike handlebars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I was okay. Yeah, no.
At least it was a PSA this time.
Yeah, but God.
Don't you ever do that again, Scotty.
Yeah.
T-Bob should not be riding on your handlebars because you will not be able to see and you will crash.
But T-Bob did make a shitty joke at the end, though. That was a pretty dumb joke.
Yeah.
But it's like...
That's a PSA that nobody ever listened to because...
Nobody ever... I'd never done this, but all of my friends that rode bikes and everything else, everybody always hung off the handlebars or sat on the handlebars, or hell, I even had a few friends that stood on handlebars while the bike was riding around.
Yeah.
I mean, no one listened to that shit.
It was... And at least it was a legit PSA that I could see parents being like, we want this message out. Tell them not to ride on bike handlebars. At least it made sense. For a while, I thought they were just like, they're running out of stuff to tell people about. I was waiting for our third jaywalking one. Damn creativity. Come on, people.
Matt, Venom just delivered a ransom demand for the Statue of Liberty.
That figures. The terms?
Unless we deliver $3 billion within 3 hours, they'll blow up the real statue and broadcast it to the whole world.
We'll be there.
And finally up today is Assault on Liberty. Take it away.
All right, Assault on Liberty. First of all, we start off in New York. We are not in Greece. We are not in Colombia or wherever the hell we were last episode. We are in freaking New York. All right. There's a magician that is putting a trick and making the Statue of Liberty disappear. Trick goes bad, though, because he can't seem to bring it back, and he gets arrested. Matt suspects foul play, and he meets with who I'm assuming is like the mayor of New York.
I think it was like a police commissioner, FBI agent, something like that.
And then all of a sudden, the statue shows up in Iowa, or so it is broadcast on TV. So we assemble M.A.S.K team, and let's go investigate what the frick is going on. So they go to Iowa, which is a big trap. Venom shows up, and we have our M.A.S.K Venom showdown. Venom retreats, and again, rather abruptly, because they've set a trap for M.A.S.K. For once, Venom is using the hologram technology to their advantage.
Yeah.
And then we understand the whole plot kind of comes in as Miles makes a ransom for the Statue of Liberty. Basically, he wants $3 billion, or he is going to destroy the Statue of Liberty and broadcast it to the whole country. So, M.A.S.K then has to start searching for... They basically have 3 hours, and they start searching for both Venom and the statue and possibly bombs, since they're threatening to blow up the Statue of Liberty. So they kind of split off into 2 different groups. And Bruce and who was it, Dusty or Buddy?
One of the two, I forget.
They end up somehow inside the statue. And then Gloria has to use her M.A.S.K to hold a force field basically around the Statue of Liberty while the team does their work. And eventually they kind of use some teamwork to get the bombs off of the Statue of Liberty and in Miles' lap, basically. So M.A.S.K. saves the day, and then Scott does some magic tricks at the end, which wasn't the PSA. It kind of seemed like it was, but that was the end of the episode. And then they did the PSA afterwards, which is what Mike was talking about before with the wear bright clothes in the dark, and we'll get to that later. It was a 4-on-5 mission, the 4 regular Venom agents, and then we had Matt, Bruce, Dusty, Buddy, and Gloria.
So it was a 5-on-4.
That's what I meant. What are your thoughts on the plot of this one?
Well, you said... because we... Just to let everybody know, because we pre-record these episodes, you had said in episode 5 that when you read off the title for this episode, you're like, that better have something to do with the United States.
Yes, it did.
And you kind of called it. The one thing that I call into question here about the plot is, I've never really paid attention to Matt. Like, I've watched magic shows, I've seen magic stuff on TV and everything else. I've seen magicians, I've seen illusionists, stuff like that. But I have never seen a magician or illusionist allowed to make a national treasure disappear.
You've never met David Copperfield.
Oh, never met the guy, but...
Who's the other guy? Magic? Chris Angel? Chris Freak?
Chris
Mind
Angel,
Freak?
yeah. But I mean, like seriously, really? They're gonna...
David Copperfield, I think, made, like, the whole world disappear once. You just missed it.
Yeah. But no, seriously. I mean, even though there were cops around and stuff like that, you know, there was security. Why would you do a trick like this?
Well, first of all, you would do it. In the real world, you would let him do a trick because you know it's impossible. In cartoon world, the impossible becomes possible. Quote me on that, folks.
As far as the plot goes, I did like Venom's misdirection and stuff like that. As far as, oh, hey, it's in the middle of bumfuck Iowa. And...
I don't know if it's because it came after creeping caterpillars. But this plot just seems like amazing to me after that.
Yeah, it does. Hell yeah.
It's not because it's like a outstanding, ridiculously creative plot. It's because it didn't suck. It didn't have plot holes. It didn't have major errors and bad things in it. So that to me is...
It didn't have major errors, but it did have a few minor errors.
But I mean, it doesn't have this stuff like, why is Venom doing this? Or, let's conveniently do this. Like, it did stuff right. It didn't do anything like spectacular, but it did it right.
Select probable coordinates for Venom hideout.
Insufficient data. Try again.
Mayhem's ego wouldn't risk getting caught down on that subway tunnel. But Mayhem's ego would pick the biggest and tallest. Scan the World Trade Center towers.
Let's turn the high beams on. What do you got?
I got them on bright. Finally, back in the good old US of A. I appreciate a story in our own country where M.A.S.K. and Venom are stationed. So that was cool. Thought it was funny when the magician told everybody to cross their fingers and T-Bob's like, what? I don't have any fingers. And so he crosses his eyes instead. I liked the M.A.S.K. Energize segment this time much better than the slow version that we've had some other times. It was probably one of the best ones we've seen. Here's just one of my biggest highlights. You hardly ever get to see this in cartoons, especially in the 80s. The lasers actually busted the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
Lasers actually did damage. We have a direct hit. We have holes in windshield, folks. This is like unprecedented. Like, stop the presses. Did parents not watch this episode and raise holy hell? So that was awesome to see. I thought there was a couple cool things about this episode. First of all, M.A.S.K. for once fell for their own tricks. They fell for the hologram.
Yeah.
And this episode actually had me baffled for a second. I had actually already written down something because Matt has just been talking to whoever that was, the commissioner guy, whatever. He's talking to him and he's like, I'd put money on it that this thing is still in New York Harbor. And then it's like, boom, It's in Iowa. You're an idiot, Matt. And I was like, even writing down, like, oh, really? It's still in New York Harbor, Matt? I fell for it too. Because then they go to Iowa and it is a hologram of the statue. So they fell for it for once. I thought that was excellent. I thought it was cool that they synchronized their watches. That's the first time I think we've seen that, where they all synchronize their watches in a 3-hour countdown.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool not only because they did that, because, you know, the watches is what they get called on. You know, when the M.A.S.K team is assembled, each of their watches goes off. But we've hardly ever seen the watch used in any other way. And for once, they all synchronized it together, and we got the watches like as a key component of this episode.
Stop taking my notes, damn it.
So that was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved when the computer shot down Matt. Like, this is not an omnipotent, all-knowing, problem-solving computer. It has limitations, and Matt's like, I can't remember what the actual question is, but he asked him something, and the M.A.S.K computer lady's like, we don't have enough information to answer that question.
Yeah.
It's like insufficient data. Sorry, buddy. I thought that was hilarious. And how about the World Trade Center reference?
Yeah, that was...
I thought it was cool.
It was cool. It's always weird.
Yeah.
Going back and watching stuff before.
It's almost like historic, though, because...
It is.
No, I'm saying because you're never going to be able to find another cartoon that references that. Like, yep. Only cartoons that obviously that were before 2001 would even have a chance to reference it, and I haven't seen it very often. I mean, I know there's other ones that do, but it's almost like, man, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Also thought it was
like watching. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say it's kind of like watching Trading Places from '83 with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. Yeah. The towers are in that. It's kind of like watching Armageddon.
Yeah.
The towers are most shown in that. I mean, that's probably the best time I've ever seen the towers, is essentially where it's, you know, sunset and the towers and the sun is behind them and it's just, you know, essentially gleaming on them. But yeah, I mean, you know, obviously cartoons beyond 2001, you're not going to see it. And I don't know, it just kind of...
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very cool twist how Bruce and Dusty, your buddy, ended up inside the statue.
Yeah, it was
I didn't see that coming at first, and they're like, "Wait a second, we're in the statue." Did you catch? I swear, I'm not losing my mind. Did you catch the Mission Impossible music?
No.
They have their watches synchronized, and they're like looking for bombs and trying to like get the bombs off. And at one point, it's like the dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Like it does that. I swear to God, it does that. I'll have to like get a timestamp, but it does it when the statue comes up from underground. Like when they raise the statue up, listen for it if anybody's ever watching in this episode again. I swear that's what it was. This isn't really a high beam, but M.A.S.K needs to invest in some Energizer batteries.
Yeah.
Because those things keep going and going. Gloria had some problems. She was running low on juice. There's a million ways I could go with that, but yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of cool things that we've never seen before. I like M.A.S.K falling for the holograms, the synchronized watches, them showing up in the statue, the computer for once not providing the answers that Matt was looking for. That's what happens when you come back to the good old USA of A. You get some good stuff. What do you have that I didn't already talk about?
One thing you missed, when they assembled the team, Bruce broke his toy.
Yeah, he did do that. This is one too that Gloria like finishes like a foot away from the finish line.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It almost causes like 8 teams to die.
No, she does cause like an 8-car pileup on the racetrack. Yeah.
She's like, I love it that these people are like in a like, not really superhero, but like you know, this power of good. They're like in this good task force, and when they get called, they do the shadiest stuff ever. Like, she could have caused, like, 6 deaths.
Now, see, if she would have, instead of just stopping and pulling a Yui and turning around and making that accident, she could have just zoomed past the finish line and then just drove around the rest of the track or flown off. You know,
come on, we got people dropping pizza crusts. We have people leaving unattended classrooms. We have people causing pileups. What kind of superheroes are you guys?
As far as the PSA, it is a definite good message to wear bright clothing at night. I know, no, seriously, because it's one of those things where especially combining what I was saying earlier with the other message about the bikes. When you're riding your bike at night or when you're just walking at night, especially if if there's no sidewalk, if the city decides, and hey, we're not going to put a sidewalk on this 20 block radius, and you have to walk like on like the edge of the road, it is a good message to wear bright clothing at night so people can actually see you.
Yeah, I didn't know where they were going with it at first.
Pay attention to people. Yeah.
I didn't know where they were going with it at first because it was just Scott in a creepy like magician's outfit.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be like, pull out the molestation card again and being like, you're going to go get molested by people in the streets. No, luckily they didn't do that. Yeah, it was a good PSA. We actually had a couple PSAs besides the first episode that didn't have one. We actually had some legit ones this week, so that was nice.
Wait, something's wrong. It's not supposed to be like this.
What's going on?
Hey, boss, it's really good.
What?
Okay, Houdini. Let's get moving.
My name is Wondro, and this is all a big mistake.
Yeah, you made it.
Is this part of the show?
T-Bob, it's all your fault. You're supposed to cross your fingers, not your eyes.
Now it's time to turn on the low beams. All right, so in the very beginning, when they're doing the magician's trick and everything else, and everyone goes to clap, the animation on Scott's hands clapping, it sucks. It looks like his fingers are moving in. It looks like his flesh is going inside of each other. The animation is so fucking bad.
Excellent.
It's not about Scott himself. It's just about the motion of it of the hand clapping and the fact that it looks like the hands are passing through each other.
They didn't do good hand clapping with Matt earlier on in the series either, so they didn't know how to do hand clapping in this.
Yeah. Again, this is another one you're gonna be shocked because it's me. Okay, I'd never come to T-Bob's defense, but Scott is being such a dick. T-Bob
Scott was a douchebag.
T-Bob does not have fingers. He has oven mitts for hands.
He's like the freaking what's the oven mitt character? Hamburger helper guy.
Oh yeah, hey, yeah, hamburger helper.
Yeah, that was the first thing I wrote down. I was like, Scott blaming T-Bob. What did Scott just turn into a 5-year-old again?
Yeah.
That's what a 5-year-old would do. Like, oh, it's your fault. You didn't cross your fingers. Like, no, Scott's older and a little more mature than that.
Yeah. Another animation error I noticed. I don't know if you noticed. It was a huge glitch. Is when Matt is flying through the city in Thunderhawk and he's delegating the tasks over the radios. It shows him in Thunderhawk, and then like right in front of where a building should be, it shows him in like a video game form. I actually have a screen cap of this. I'll show it to you after the podcast. But it shows him like just a regular passing by image of the animation cell. And then within the animation cell, it's like a horribly video. Like he almost looked like a Mario Matt. Seriously,
interesting.
It was just so weird to see that.
No, I missed that.
Biggest and the tallest, the World Trade Center. I thought Empire was bigger in New York.
Well, they needed 2. I don't know.
Right? No, I understand.
Don't know.
I mean, it's not really a low beam on my part. It's more of a question because I thought that, at least here in the U.S., Empire was the tallest at 102 feet. Or 102 stories, I'm sorry.
Yeah, not 102 feet.
No, 100. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was too. Yeah, I didn't notice that. Good pickup. Good observation.
Yes. This makes twice that the Switchblade has been blown up. When the Thunderhawk got blown up, they even stated that they built a new one. So what about the Switchblade?
This series of episodes that we covered today was not friendly with vehicles.
No, not at all.
Thunderhawk got exploded.
Yeah.
The whatchamacallit had the windshield damage today.
Yeah.
Switchblade got destroyed.
Yeah.
Cliff Dagger's car got destroyed in this episode.
Yep.
I mean, and Slyrax's little motorcycle thing when it was in the water got hit by a torpedo.
Yeah.
So there was not a good day to be a vehicle. But I don't know what happens to all these other vehicles, because at least they mentioned that they rebuilt Thunderhawk.
Yeah. I almost missed the PSA in this one, though. Even though it was in my high beams already, I swear I almost missed it because I was ready to go to the next episode and to watch episode 15 for the next podcast, because as soon as I was like, oh hell no, they're not gonna have a PSA with Magician fucking Scott. You gotta be kidding me.
At least his trick didn't work. At least T-Bob broke it.
What do you got for low beams?
Same thing for you, Scott blaming T-Bob. I thought this episode did highlight some of the poor voice acting again. Especially the scene with Matt talking to that commissioner guy.
Yeah.
Whoever's voicing that commissioner guy needed to get a new job. I had a couple things written down that I had to take away. Like I had Matt, you're an idiot because it's not in New York Harbor anymore. After you just made that whole long speech about, oh, it's in New York Harbor, and then it shows up in Iowa. I was like, oh, you're an idiot. But no, that was me being an idiot. And then I had another note down that I had to take back because they set their watches for 3 hours. And then all of a sudden they had 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that went fast. But I actually went back when I was grabbing some pictures and clips and stuff. And I think Bruce actually mentions, he says, 3 hours, that'll hardly be enough time for us to just get to New York.
Yeah.
So they actually explained the time. So this is more like a high beam. They actually explained the time away and why it made sense then that there was only 15 minutes left when they got there.
Yeah.
So that was cool. What the fuck happened to that torpedo? Two times, we've had 2 different low beam torpedoes today. Did the torpedo turn into you know how, okay, it's my fault this time, guys, 4th Transformers reference. You know when Megatron and Optimus are fighting on the bridge in season 1 and they all of a sudden pull these axes, these colored laser axes out of their...
The energy axe and the energy mace.
Yeah, the energy axe and the energy mace. Did the torpedo just become an energy javelin?
Apparently so.
The torpedo turns into this energy thing, like a pink energy substance that looks like a sword or a javelin, and then it comes out of the sky and hits Sly's vehicle.
Yeah, his submarine. Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know.
I don't know, but that just led me to the other point you said. So all of Venom's vehicles have been destroyed in this episode. Does that mean that the series is over? Did M.A.S.K win? They destroyed Switchblade, and they destroyed both Sly and Cliff's vehicles.
Well, Vanessa still has hers.
So it's just M.A.S.K against Vanessa? I'm down for that. I can watch that all day.
Wow.
Just kidding.
If you take Gloria out of that equation, that's like a 6-on-1 gangbang.
We just went not rated G, folks. Well, maybe G. No, I'm just kidding. It was a bad day to be machines, and especially when energetic javelins are being thrown at you.
M.A.S.K will be right back, and so will Venom.
You can now hear the Geekcast Radio Network while on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher is a free-use and talk mobile app available for your smartphone. And when you download Stitcher to hear Geekcast Radio, you'll have a chance to win money. Downloading is quick and easy. Just find Stitcher in the App Store. During registration, hit the promo code box and enter Geekcast Radio, all one word, to get automatically entered to win $100. The latest episodes of the shows will be waiting for you in your favorites. You'll get access to lots of other amazing shows too. Always available to you on demand, no syncing. It's Stitcher Smart Radio. Don't forget to enter promo code Geekcast Radio when you register.
The bird of prey has not only wings for flying, but feet for lifting. Dig not with the hands when the shovel lies waiting. Ah, Bruce, holy cow. He just means that whatever Venom is up to, Solaria Park must be involved.
What happened to the bad guys? They lose their nerve?
The farther the water goes out, the bigger the wave that returns.
Right. Keep on your toes, everyone.
They're up to something.
2012 marks the 30th anniversary for Masters of the Universe. We here at the GCRN are celebrating with a brand new series of podcasts. The Powers of Grayskull series will cover every episode of every MOTU cartoon. Yes, even that crappy New Adventure stuff. Join Optimus Solo and TF2 Mike as they tell tales of Eternia, discover the myths of Etheria, become masters in space, and finally masters of Grayskull. You can find the Pogs podcasts in iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Good journey!
Man the boats! Robots and children first!
Wait! An object need not look like a fish to smell like one.
Say what?
The clever bird feigns distress to conceal her real nest. Come again, good buddy?
That's it, of course. Bruce means that Venom deliberately lured us here.
Oh, I see.
This is the non-ear bleeding version of T-Bob.
I don't rate high performance fuel.
Look out!
This is the ear bleeding version. Ow, my ears!
If you ask me, it's for the birds. Turn it off.
Movie Week in Review is the Geekcast Radio Network's weekly movie podcast. Steve and Mike take a look back on their favorite films and give you their thoughts. They also bring in co-hosts at times. If you are a movie buff, listen to M-Wire only on geekcastradio.com.
Now back to M.A.S.K.
All right, hopefully you enjoyed those words of wisdom from none other than Bruce Sato. We talked about the PSAs a little bit, but you also got to hear a special clip done by TFG One Bob.
No.
With T-Bob's voices, and I think my suspicions are correct with this. I would almost put money on it, based on the high level of voice acting the series has. That I'm joking, people. I would almost guarantee and put money on it that is the same voice actor doing the voice of T-Bob, who is just not good at consistently doing the same voice.
Right, but you see what I'm saying about
yeah,
it
one of them has a little bit more.
It has a little more low, like it's.
Well, one's a little bit lower, and one accents the when your voice breaks.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're going through puberty. There's a word for that, but one of them accents those like little trills and whatnot.
Yeah.
To a kind of an annoying point, whereas the other one just kind of is more subdued. It's just very inconsistent voice acting.
Yeah, it is. Very much so.
So my overall thoughts on these?
Yes.
Let's start with the beginning, I guess. With Solaria Park, there was so much to like in that episode as far as like highlights and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought there was a good amount of comedy. I thought there was some stuff that we'd never seen before as far as, you know, not just giving us the same old every time. They were reinventing some chase scenes with, you know, the Thunderhawk carrying the firecracker, etc. There was some good stuff here, all wrapped in a plot that makes no fucking sense.
Yep.
So that's my problem with Solaria Park. The difference between that and the Creeping Terror is the Creeping Terror also has a plot that really makes no sense, but it doesn't have any of the good stuff that Solaria Park had.
No, not at all.
They did well. They did a good job with the animation and the look of the caterpillars, I think. I think that was fine and everything. But, you know, there's a disconnect as to what the caterpillars have to do with anything. Why is Venom involved? Then we have the giant crystal that nobody knows and Venom just decides to use anyways. We have the caterpillars going into cocoon for centuries or whatever afterwards. You have the nice little, the caterpillars are just going to eat the crystal and that will solve all our problems. They didn't even pay attention to the details either. Like we said, Alex wasn't chosen for that episode. Sly Rax becoming an idiot when he's usually the smarter one of the group. Hondo and the kids getting trapped by the caterpillars for no reason. The kids being involved in this in any way, shape, or form. They should not have been here. They should not have been hitching a ride. That's dumb. That's forced. Coconuts that don't look like coconuts. That goes back to the detail spots. It's just a bad episode. There's nothing redeeming except for Alex's monkey. And then to go back to Assault on Liberty, we actually have a plot that somewhat makes sense. I know it's been the whole ransom thing is kind of apparently what Venom is always going to do. They're not trying to, some evil organizations have certain things that they want to do. Venom just wants money.
Yep.
Like we've seen ransom after ransom, so that's what they're in. So I can accept that. Like that's the type of bad organization they are. They just want money. It's kind of like Big Boss and cops. They just want to steal things and have money. They don't. Doesn't seem like they really necessarily want to like take over the world. I mean, I guess if you have all the money, you kind of take over. But so I can get that. We're in the U.S. There's cool stuff going on here with the holograms, and then you think you know what's going on, and they fooled me twice in this episode. So I'll give any cartoon credit for that from the 80s. It's going to actually fool me and have me thinking it's one thing rather than another. Yeah. Cool when they showed up in the statue. Damage to the vehicles was cool. So I really liked Assault on Liberty.
Yeah, I would say Assault on Liberty is the best one of this threefer.
I would have liked Solaria Park if all that good stuff was wrapped in a better plot.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Solaria Park was just, as we already said, there was a plot, but it was just poorly executed. Creeping Terror. I mean, the title is so awesome. I expected the episode to
Caterpillars were awesome. The title was awesome.
Well, the title was awesome, but I thought the episode was going to be as awesome as the title, and for me, it just wasn't.
No.
It just wasn't at all. And as you said, Assault on Liberty had so much good stuff, and it's your general 80s villain ransom episode. So, what do you give episode 12, Solaria Park?
Like I said, I can't completely bash it because there was a lot of good little parts to it. The details were good. It just was a terrible plot. So I'm going to just put it right in the middle at a 2.5.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 3. I enjoyed it for the most part, even though I have little nitpicks here and there. But it wasn't like, oh my God, get this episode over right now.
Yeah.
What about Creeping Terror? What are you going to give that?
I'll go ahead and give my first one of these. That's a 0. That was a shitty-ass episode.
Same here. 0 out of 5 masks. Yep.
Fucking worst episode probably we will see in the entire series.
I don't know.
That's the first one we've both given a 0 to.
Yeah. It's not the first one I've given a 0 to, but it's the first one you have, and it's the first one we both have, yes. Episode 14, Ass on Liberty.
The Ass on Liberty was good. I will give this one, I'm not ready to give a 5 yet, but I will give this one a strong 4.
Same here. 4 out of 5, because it was so like watching Assault on Liberty, following up Creeping Terror was so much better than Creeping Terror.
This is what you want in your 80s. This is Assault on Liberty. I'm not saying this because Assault on Liberty was the perfect episode to sell toys.
Yes.
That if you believe in the whole thing that all cartoons is a commercial bullshit, like I know that there's part of that plays into it, but this was the perfect one because it just featured in the U.S., which is I think it's key here because then people can relate to it. They're seeing New York, they're seeing stuff that they know.
Right.
It's showing all the vehicles, showcasing them. They're getting damaged. They're doing this different stuff. It's showing the different masks doing stuff. It did a good job of saying, man, I want that vehicle so I can play with it.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. Yeah.
And I haven't noticed that in any, this is just your prototypical good, solid episode that makes you want to go buy the stuff that's in it.
Yep. Most definitely. Now, just to give you guys a little preview as to what happens on geekcastradio.com.
If you're not in the know.
Yes, if you're not in the know.
You need to get over there because we're having discussions and debates over there.
Yes, we are. We are, as I said before, during one of the episodes, we pre-record these. So by the time this goes up, I'm sure we will have many more comments.
Right.
After this
but
episode.
If you're not in on the comment fun, because right now it's basically 4 or 5 of us, you need to join us because we're having some fun here.
Yes. Do we want to read? I have one and you have the others. I have the one from Rook, who left us the iTunes review. He actually wrote in on episode 3. Do we want to read the entire comment, or do you want me to just read a paragraph of it to kind of give the people?
You can read some highlights.
Okay,
that's fine. And that was on episode 3, right?
Yeah, this was on episode 3. This was with Highway to Terror, Video Venom, and whatever else was in that episode. I forget. Highway to Terror, Video Venom, and Dinosaur Boy. Yeah, that's why I wanted to forget. It's fucking Dinosaur Boy. He says, I'm enjoying the podcast. Highway to Terror was not a bad episode, decent plot, and I enjoyed the setup that M.A.S.K implemented in the end to thwart Venom. I might have to take back my original comment about needing beers to be able to watch the show. It's better than I thought. However, Scott and T-Bob suck hard. Thank you very much. I do agree with you there. Why does there have to be an annoying kid who never listens and always causes trouble for the good guys? The same thing happened in The Walking Dead with Carl and also Daniel in Season 3 of The Transformers. Pay attention to what your kid is doing or get them a babysitter. It's not a goofy robot / scooter. He's basically reiterating everything we've already said about Scott and T-Bob.
Yeah.
He also goes on to say about Video Venom. You mentioned the episode of plot for Video Venom being similar to the original Transformers episode, The Ultimate Doom, where the hypno chips were used to brainwash humans in doing work for Megatron and the Decepticons. The first thing I thought about when I watched Video Venom was that it was very similar to G.I. Joe episode Flint's Vacation, where Cobra brainwashed an entire town of people to do work for them. In G.I. Joe episode, Cobra actually uses TVs to brainwash the townspeople, just like Venom did. So originally I thought M.A.S.K was ripping off the plot from G.I. Joe, but the M.A.S.K episode actually debuted more than a month before the G.I. Joe episode, October 5th, 85, compared to November 13th, 85. Also, why did Venom need a special weapon to destroy a highly combustible oil field? Yes, we agree.
And then on episode 4, we've actually had, at the time we're recording this, there's up to 14, 15 comments string on episode 4. We're having lots of fun. Tim Silvers, one of our friends and sometimes co-host on some special episodes, has said a couple things. I wanted to bring out something here. He says, I agree with Kevin that T-Bob and Scott Tracker aren't that bad. I actually don't find them very annoying. I'm more annoyed at the coincident aspect of the events that happen that bring them into the episodes occasionally. And then we had a whole string of stuff about, he did mention he noticed the difference in T-Bob's voice. They pointed out a couple animation errors that we missed, and they did bring out a whole conversation on Rotex and how similar they are to Scraplets and how you're wrong on that, Mike. So I just bring this up because this is some of the stuff that you're missing out if you're not visiting Geekcast Radio Network. You can go to any of the episodes we've already recorded, go back and comment on episode 1 or 2 if you want to. We will see it. We will respond. Other people might respond. And, then as they get released every week, you can make more comments. Be a part of the fun here.
Exactly. One last thing on Rook's thing. He said he fell behind at first, but he's going to continue to try to watch the episodes before each of our podcasts to better his M.A.S.K experience, and he says keep up the good work. So thank you, sir, for that. That's going to do it for this week. Thank you for being a part of M.A.S.K Mayhem today. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on all of our posts and get in on the discussion. Send email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Leave the show's feedback in iTunes. Please do this. Follow us on Twitter. The main Twitter is @geekcastradio. Mine is TFG1 Mike. What is your Twitter?
Optimus Solo, all one word.
Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/geekcast or Radio Network. Call the voicemail line. Tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. 502-526-5821. If you have a USB headset or microphone on your computer, you can go to the website. On the right-hand side, there is a button that says Send Voicemail, and you can send it straight through your computer.
No need for phones.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of M.A.S.K Mayhem. Don't forget to join us in our next crusade when we will be discussing episodes 15, 16, and 17.
I feel like your power in your mask is fading.
No, it isn't. The Scepter of Regime, the Golden Goddess, and Mystery of the Ring.
The question we have to ask is, will any of those episodes be in the U.S.?
Well, the question I have to ask about the Mystery of the Rings is, when is Sonic going to show up?
I thought it was fitting, like, because it's an Olympic year, so we're going to talk about some Olympic rings, and then Scepter of Regime is definitely not in the U.S. I'm just guessing the Golden Goddess isn't either. I might be disappointed with our locations next week.
For now, I am TF2 and Mike with...
I'm Optimus Solo.
And remember, podcasting is the ultimate weapon.
Illusion is the ultimate weapon.